Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. Got some important questions for you, and I want you to think about these for just a moment and, in your mind, answer honestly. Do you feel like you're stuck? You know that there's more out there for you, but you're not really sure how to get it. Maybe you're not even sure what it is, or things just feel a little bit off. Maybe you've gone to therapy, but it hasn't been as impactful as you thought it could be. Have you considered something called spiritual nourishment? Or maybe going through some health challenges right now. Have you ever thought that the root cause of your disease is not what you think? We're going to talk about that today with somebody that's got over 40 years working professionally as a holistic health educator, community activist, and higher education administrator. He's dedicated his life's work to help turn people's lives around. He's Len Burg, and he joins us on the program today. Hey, Len, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Okay, how are you?
Very well, very well. Lots to talk about today. And some of these principles I've heard before, but it appears that you presented in a different form and maybe go layers deeper than I've ever experienced. Why don't we even start with spiritual nourishment? Mentioned that before. How do you define that?
Well, it's gaining access to the source of life and healing within you, which is the spirit or the soul. And this is why I became what you call a soul therapist, as opposed to the conventional psychotherapist. The soul therapy adds a spiritual and metaphysical dimension to the practice.
Why do you think that many of us are stuck and our lives aren't moving forward, or maybe we're experiencing some health challenges? What do you think deeply is going on there?
Well, I have a relationship with some very learned psychotherapists in Brazil, Dr. Norberto Kepi, and I like the word he coined, which was inconscientization, meaning suppressing consciousness. When we suppress consciousness, we cut off the life force and the healing that's available to cure or remedy the dis-ease in our life, not just physical disease, but social disease, relationships, any kind of situation which is disturbing our equilibrium. And so if we can find a way to access in consciousness that spiritual energy, then it is the element that aids in, and that actually is the root of the healing that we're seeking.
Now, does this go back to a lot of those things that are in our subconscious from our childhood?
It absolutely does, meaning that we come into this world hardwired, meaning some of us are rich, some are poor, some are black, some are white, some are men, some are women. And the fact is that we also come into this world with certain, for instance, bodily constitutions, wherein some are strong or some are weak. What I've found is that at the root of all limiting conditions are patterns within us. And you can call it, it's part of what we call psychosomatic healing, meaning for every physical dis-ease, there are corresponding psychosomatic or things going on inside of us in terms of our beliefs, in terms of our mindset, in terms of our emotional patterns and our habit patterns that aid and abet that physical condition. So if we just provide some kind of drug, I don't care even if it's a holistic herb, to a physical condition without addressing the root cause of it inside of us, then true cure or remediation continues to we continue to avoid the real root cure because of the root cause.
So this whole thing about disease, and even before we go there, I want to rewind for just one moment. I believe that when children are born, doesn't matter what color they are, their background, what language their parents speak, they're essentially the same. It's a clean slate. you know, assuming that they're both equally healthy, and then things change. They're exposed to different things. They're exposed to different situations. Even by 2 years old, they start forming different opinions of how life could be, should be, and all of that. Do you feel that we really are? We're all the same when we're born?
Well, yes and no. We're all, it's still such a good question. We're all, in essence, divine spirits with a costume called the body, mind, person. And the mystics and ancients taught that approximately 1/3 of our existence is governed by what they call karma. Another third is related to the environment in which we live, and then another third has to do with our lifestyle, diet, etc. Whether one believes in karma or not, you can't escape the fact that Mozart, when he was born at the age of 3, he's writing symphonies. His teacher, who was a genius, could touch him. Some of us seem to be born with more degrees of health than others. So 1/3, we do have free will, even though part of our existence is governed by the hand that we're dealt at the moment of birth. Fortunately, we do have free will. All of us have free will. That's the clean slate. But the problem is we do not know how to deal with that part of our being which is limited by virtue of the conditions under which we were born and the hard wiring that we came into the world with.
So, yeah, and I should have factored in there those other things like genetics and things like that. So maybe that would be the third. and then to your point, karma is interesting, though. Funny that you bring that up. I know we're digressing for a moment here, but what are your thoughts on karma? Everybody always looks at it as, it's a bad thing. If karma's coming back to get that person. Could be good karma too. But overall, what are your thoughts on karma?
Well, in many different scriptures, there's this saying, as you sow, so shall you reap. In the physical world, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So it is true that our thoughts, our words, and our deeds create the conditions in our life. The elephant in the room is, how is it that a person who, let's say a 5-year-old girl, is raped, well, what did she think that attracted this to her? Okay? But then again, as per your question, karma is not good or bad in a sense. Karma is just the fruits of seeds that we have sown that are manifesting. But the one thing people sometimes don't want to face is that, well, if that's true, that as you sow, so shall you reap, it means that if you're reaping it, you sowed it. And the mystery is, well, how did I sow it? Because I didn't do anything in my life to be born poor. It means that whether we like it or not, we have to accept that we came into this world with some hard wiring and some karma or some conditioning that we have to address. And the safest thing to do is to first address it.
Would you say that kind of situation could be generational? I know we're getting a little deep here, but where it came from another generation, where you just inherited that lesson that needs to be learned.
From the mystical point of view, our karma is individual. However, we may be in groups or even in lineage where people have similar karmic conditionings, which cause them to be grouped in certain ways. However, we create our own karma, and everyone else creates their own karma. And we cannot blame it on mama. We cannot blame it on papa. We found that even sometimes when you look at a young person being born, there are certain habits and patterns that seem to be evident at birth. And even though the parents are blamed sometimes for it, actually those habits and patterns were formed at birth.
Interesting. Soul therapy sessions. One of the services that you provide, and very impactful to help move somebody's life along, which, we're talking about here, and even, potentially transition into, a positive space. What does a session like that look like?
Well, a session starts with a person presenting what may be a dis-ease situation. A dis-ease, not necessarily physical, what they call physical disease, but some element going on in their life that is causing, that's chronic, that's recurring, that's causing some degree of pain and suffering, and they just can't get around it. So they begin a session talking about it. And then what I help the person to do is to identify the corresponding habit patterns in their life, emotional patterns, mindset and mental patterns, and belief patterns that are aiding and abetting and perpetuating that physical, that dis-ease that's going on in their life. And what happens is once you begin to become conscious of what you've been suppressing the consciousness of, then you begin to connect with that healing spiritual energy, which takes over and takes the lead in bringing about a solution or a remedy to the issue.
I want to get back to the services that you offer and how you support people. But even before we go there, Len, tell us about your background. How did you get to this point where you're helping people in moving their life forward?
Well, as a young person, what got me into this path of holistic health and spirituality is just being sick and being depressed and, quitting my job and trying to find out, well, who am I, And one of the things I discovered, I went to UCLA, not the famous university in California, but the university on the corner of Lenox Avenue in Harlem, New York, and that was a bookstore, a metaphysical bookstore, which people like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Kool and the Gang, many celebrities even attended it. And there I discovered some spiritual teachings and some spiritual groups. And what I discovered was that something that kind of blew my mind was that I am not my body. My body belongs to me. I am the one that uses the body. And the I am is that spirit within me, which is made in the scriptures, they say, in the image of God, meaning having the same essential quality of our Creator. And therefore, I began to identify more with who I am rather than the costume that I wear, the body, mind, person, and ego. And that spurred me to further research and practice and meeting with holistic practitioners and spiritual teachers, saints, and sages around the world, and learning at their feet in order to develop a practice that I call soul therapy.
When we talk about the body, I want to make sure I heard that clear. So the body, your belief is the body is not really ours?
No, well, it was lent to us. We didn't create ourselves.
True.
Okay, so this body that's lent to us can be taken away in an instant. So the best thing we can do is, well, what's the best thing I can do to preserve this body and keep it healthy? And what the ancients teach is that the true purpose of life is not to have 2.5 kids, a house in the suburbs, vacation time, etc. The true purpose of having been given the gift of a human life is to realize our divinity, to become one with our Creator. And therefore, we preserve and nourish the body because it's through the physical body, which is called the crown of creation, that we can make that journey inside to become one with our Creator. Now, it is true that we have to have food, clothing, shelter, and we live in a physical world. We may have, physical talents that we should nurture, but all of those physical things are merely part of life that we have to get equilibrium in order that we can develop spiritually. One clear example is if you take the science of yoga. The mystic teaches that the purpose of yoga is ultimate purpose is not to become this perfect human mechanism. It's so that you can sit longer in meditation and then come in contact with the divinity within you.
I had this realization based on everything that you're saying. I think I'm on your page with all of this, that when my mom passed away 5 years ago, I started asking for signs. I said, I need your help. I want to know you're there, and just feel, your support. They were very specific. I mean, there's just, I know it sounds crazy, but continually it's slapping me in the face. And I've worked with psychics before, some of the best on the planet, helped launch their media careers. And it finally crystallized for me in that the body's just a container. The spirit is always around. Even when, you move on, the body's no longer working. Our spirit, our energy is still around. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what happens is that initially when the spirit leaves the body, it goes into the inner realms. It is prepared to come back again to finish the journey, because the mystics teach that the only way that you can actually realize your divinity is through having a human body. Now, it is true that we leave behind many monuments. We may build things, we may create things, we may write a book, we may build a statue, we may be successful in many areas of human life, and in a sense, it seems to carry our remnants of our energy, our ethers. But the fact remains is that, or at a certain point, we leave this physical body. We go wherever we go until it's time maybe to come back again.
I know for a lot of people this sounds very deep, but when you start studying it and experiencing it and learning it, and then realize that it can change your life, it is a game changer. It really is. What do you hear from people, Len, nowadays? What when you work with somebody, or maybe you encounter somebody for the first time, what seems to be the common denominator?
Well, the common denominator seems to be that people, it's difficult for people to understand why they're having the problem and the obstacles and obstructions that they're having, in spite of all of their efforts to deal with it. And what I find in common is that the people feeling as if they're victims, not realizing that they're not victims, but that within them lies the seed that really attracts and perpetuates the dis-ease conditions that they experience. And so what I try to help people to do is to what we call conscientize, meaning become conscious of that seed belief in you that's perpetuating that condition, and that may even have a causal relationship to it. And people find that once they begin to be honest and truthful about their habits, truthful about what they really feel, truthful about what they think and what they believe, then what happens? All of a sudden they calm down. They calm down, and then it's that calmness that the healing begins. I like to end all my sessions with a meditation, because what happens in meditation is that as you develop and become more skilled at it, you begin to realize that I am the knower, and what I'm feeling is the known. What I'm seeing is the known. And the more I stay in a certain state of meditation, I begin to access that dimension of life beyond the physical, where the healing begins.
Would you say that all disease comes from, I want to position this the right way, but our thoughts, we're creating it in many regards, or could there be some genetic factors in there? Let's say somebody, gets diagnosed with cancer. What do you think's going on there?
Well, we have to realize that you take something like cancer, our thoughts, words, and deeds in the present lifetime, right, can aid and abet or perpetuate a condition that was hardwired to some extent at the moment of birth. The root cause of it may go beyond this lifetime. And then when we're born, we have the opportunity. Can we begin to address it in such a way that we divest ourselves of the kinds of thinking and believing and acting that aids and abets and perpetuates this condition? Very often in many diseases, including cancer, it's a resentment, deep-seated resentment that doesn't help to cure it, but helps to perpetuate it. But the beauty of it is that once we allow ourselves to be conscious of how we're really feeling, then we no longer are that feeling, meaning instead of me saying, I am sick, I feel sick. Instead of saying my cancer, the cancer, we begin to distinguish between who we are and this condition that we're experiencing. This means we're beginning to become more conscious. And the whole formula of soul therapy is that there's a creator that created us. There's a spirit within us which is made in the image of that creator, and that we have consciousness which is an expression of that creator. And by becoming conscious of whatever, we cement our connection to the spirit and to the creator. But on the other hand, when we inconscientize, when we suppress consciousness, we cut off that link to the healing within us.
So essentially, the body can heal itself if you give it what it needs, both spiritually and also in balance of everything else as well.
Yeah, what we say is that the organism, through its spiritual power, heals itself. The body is just a plant. It's the spirit that enlivens it.
I totally get it, and I've experienced it. Don't have enough time to get into it, but a doctor told me to will away, quote unquote, will away a certain situation. He wasn't having luck. 3 days later, it went away. Can't make it up. And that was 12 years ago. Minor situation, but still, that was the proof for me that we have the power to heal ourselves. And then don't necessarily need to be popping pills or anything like that. Fascinating talking with you, Len. If somebody has this resonating within them, wants to make some changes, what's the best way that they can start, even a conversation?
Well, if it's a conversation with me, if I can, I'd like to give them a number they can text in order to get in touch with me.
Sure.
347-989-4147. 317-989-4147. That's country code 1. They can text that, and I'll be in touch with them. If it's a foreign entity, then we can do it through WhatsApp. Gotcha.
And I know you have a website. The URL is kind of long. Is that a place for somebody to go as well?
Right now, my website is under construction, but I can. All they have to do is contact me at that number.
Okay.
And as it comes up, I will share it with them.
Got it. Once again, share that number. Want to make sure everybody's got it.
The number is 347-989-4147. That's 317-989-4147.
Beautiful. Len, it was a pleasure talking with you. I learned a lot. You also fortified things that I was wondering about in just a short period of time. And this is what's going on within all of us. You know, the spirit is strong. And once we harness the power of that, we can start to feel better and heal. Thank you so much for being here today, and looking forward if we get a chance to talk again.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Ready to heal and transform your life? Leonard Burg, owner of Innerspire Therapeutics, offers personalized therapy to help you reconnect with your true self. Whether you're facing emotional struggles, trauma, or life transitions, Leonard provides a safe, nurturing space for deep healing. Call 917-941-7099 or visit Psychology Today to start your journey toward inner peace today.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit. And make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.